It's raining, guys. And oh, it's so lovely. The pink flowers. Getting a little break from nursing the babies. Those are kind of pretty. Kinda. Huh. Beautiful thing. Everything's beautiful if you really get up close and look at it. I always love walking on my property and taking a walk when it's, raining. It's really refreshing. I don't know how this phone likes getting wet, but I probably can't do this very long, but I thought it was about to stop raining. Oh my. These colors are so pretty. Literally flowers on these bushes. So pretty. There's a neat little fire pit over here. This is just behind my dome. So I guess somebody used to camp here. And I should come over here and have some chairs around here, and we could make a little campfire there, and sing songs on the guitar, and it would be a great little spot, My dome's just up there, and so it's just in the backyard, Well, before I ever come out here, I would dream about this place. And I saw this little road here. Isn't that pretty? Isn't that the weirdest tree? Some of these trees. But yeah, I remember seeing this in my dream. Everything about this place. Gorgeous. Yeah, I'll go back around. So, I've got some interesting thoughts today on Miley Cyrus and some of the things that's going on with the programming of the children and people's minds and things that we find acceptable today. And, you know, it's funny because it really has been since the 50s. You know, right after World War I, 1945, or I should say World War II, there's been this agenda. The television, the whole radio and commercialism and everything, it seems like the purpose of all of it, boy, it's starting to rain. I really gotta get this phone out of the wet rain. But it seems like the purpose of all of this, it was like a programming period of time in history for the last, 80 years, since 1948, since they became a nation. That's just perfect. That's the last generation for sure. And it's like the devil's last hurrah. He's just trying everything he can, from the pulpit to politics, television, the media, the school system, the curriculum, all the agenda. Is designed to destroy us utterly. And the poor children have no idea what's happening. And they're fighting for their own destruction. They're fighting against their parents, and the parents are dying on and just falling apart because they can't bear to lose all their family. That's what's going on. That's why people are so sad. Because people can't bear this splitting up of a family. And it's because of the immorality that they're allowing people to think is their right. That's destroying the makeup of society, the family unit. So I'm going to show you a little clip of Miley. Listen to her voice. It's crazy.
The journey is usually the part that you remember anyways.
So I saw this article, it's Teen Vogue. Never heard of it before, and there's her lovely picture. Sure looks like a girl to me, but it says Miley Cyrus. And by the way, is that kind of another way of spelling the star Cyrus? That's weird. But, well, in the occult, that planet is used a lot and talked about a lot. But she opens up about gender identity and smoking marijuana. And she says, it's weird that I'm a girl. Oh, that's just so weird. Because I just don't feel like a girl. What does she feel like? When Miley Cyrus broke free from her Disney days, expressing herself in new and sometimes wild ways, I think you need to read between the lines, guys. I did that video. It was taken off of the YouTube, but Miley Cyrus did have some kind of connection with the Disney, and the Disney has got connections with Epstein. And they had a big party and a gay parade down there, and it was a big old deal, and there was talk about all of this PED, affiliate going on, and parties, and this is before Epstein was accused of whatever he was accused of and went to suicide land. But this is saying that Miley broke free from it. And she began to express herself in new and sometimes wild ways. Well, I wonder if it's because she was literally abused as a child and raised in some kind of crazy cult. It became clear that Miley isn't afraid to be exactly who she is at all times. You see, that's an oxymoron because she says she's not who she is. So she seems like if she's not afraid of being who she is, at least she's not going to admit who she is. And I don't know for what reason, but everything is sort of read between the lines and subterfuge. I mean, even just a simple sentence. It is not really supposed to be about whether something's factual. It's just a sentence. But even that, they can't get factual. So when it says she's not afraid to express who she is, what they're really saying, which is doublespeak, who she really is, she's afraid to express, but who she wants to be or pretends to be, she's very courageous in expressing. Or maybe she's paid to do it. I don't know. But from her outfits to her music to how she spends her time, Miley has forged a unique path for herself. Well, she was paid to do that. Expressing herself in new ways constantly. Like, what are you talking about expressing yourself? We're not talking about expressing, like whether you're born a male or a female is not some way that you express yourself. It's just biological fact. Every sentence is a nuance. Every sentence in these articles in the Vogue magazines and the People and on Fox News and CNN also, it's all lies, but it's worse than lies. It's subterfuge. They don't even know what they're saying. In a new interview with Billboard, Miley opened up about another part of her identity. Oh, she's got another part. Miley told Billboard that she often thinks about her gender identity, saying that she doesn't really identify as a boy or a girl. Well, of course you don't identify as a boy. You're not a boy, or are you? Why did they mention the boy first, then the girl? She's neither girl or boy. So, according to what they're saying, I mean, her herself, what she's saying, according to her own words, she may possibly be a girl, or she might have been born a boy. We don't know, because she's not going to tell you whether she's a boy or girl. I guess she's gay, but she doesn't even want to say she's gay. But she's not saying, look, I'm a girl. I was born a girl. She's saying she has no gender identity. So she said her looks vacillates between somewhat masculine and super femme. I always wondered about, now this is going to be an odd statement from me, but I'm going to say it because it is something I wondered about, and it has to do with this. I noticed that she would go out on stage and she would have her blouse open so you could see. And I noticed there wasn't anything there. Like, it could easily be hormonal pills she's taking that, if there's anything there, it might just be due to some pills. And she's running around acting like she might be a boy. So, and saying she might be a boy or she might be a girl, she doesn't want to identify as either one. So I used to wonder why, if you didn't have any breasts, you would flaunt that. I notice a lot of the singers are like that. And a lot of these singers that are like that tend to be like, shave their heads. I don't know. I guess that makes them feel like a boy because they got a butch. And that's, I guess, why they call them that. But it's just odd to me that she's proud of not being endowed, which that's fine. She ought to be proud of who she really is. But it's just some kind of, just like this article, some kind of play on words. I don't know if maybe her actions are telling us something. But so she says she's defying expectations for how girls are supposed to dress. Miley said her gender identity also exits outside the binary. Well, that's some big words there for a young woman. I think about being a girl all the time, Miley said. I always it's weird that I am a girl. I guess she's admitting she's a girl or saying she is a girl. Because I don't feel like a girl. I don't feel like a boy. Well, I don't know why she keeps saying I don't feel like a boy. Miley said that she sometimes asks fiance Liam Hemsworth how he feels about being a boy. And he says he doesn't think about it. But it's not the same for Miley. While Liam may have been born male, and identifies as a boy, meaning he identifies within the gender expectations that society has set up. Like, well, they're saying society sets up this expectation that a boy is a boy. Are we expecting a mountain to be a mountain and a river to be a river? I mean, I don't get at all this double talk. So, some people don't identify within that binary. Like Miley, many gender non conforming people don't feel like a boy or a girl. See, they're making this sound all like, well, this is just her choice. She doesn't identify that way. And, but you see, we used to say, instead of this language, we used to say that was perversion. We used to say it was sin. We used to feel that it was important to fulfill your destiny, that a woman should be married and have children and a family and build a home and have a life. But now she's making millions of dollars running around in a fantasy Disney show her entire life. And she's pretending to be the dragon lady or the, some kind of made up imaginary thing, but it's a fantasy. And she has, I guess, every right to fantasize. I'm not going to try and stop her, but it's the agenda that they're pushing. It's the writer that I'm upset with. Because this little girl, and with all her millions of dollars, couldn't have gotten that way if we don't keep buying her stuff. Well, I'm not buying it, but people are buying what she's saying and listening to what she's saying. And I guess you guys are just eating it up. Or at least, I don't know, somebody is. Maybe it's the children. They've convinced the children. But anywho, I just think this is about the most ridiculous thing in all the world. In this article, Miley Cyrus says you can just be whatever you want to be. You can just be whatever you want to be. Now look at her hair. And when I saw that, I thought, well, it's a hairstyle, Dave. Get over it. I remember when I was young and there were girls that were, because back in those days, I mean, the average, just about all the women had long hair. I think in the 60s and 50s, there was a few, but even back with the Charleston, there were some of the girls cutting their hair, but they never did it behind the ears. It was always just kind of chopped, like a bowl they'd put on their head and just cut it around. So it was a different hairstyle, even if it was shorter than men. Women always had a different hairstyle back in the 20s and the Charleston and all of that. But probably in the 60s and 70s, you had a couple of women come along that would do the butch. I don't think it was the 60s, probably 70s. By the 80s, you started seeing it more, and you got this terminology, the butches. So, in those days, before everybody caught on that it was going to be this government agenda pushing people to be gender fluid, we just thought, I remember people like at school, people just going, if you would criticize a woman because she cut her hair short, you're like, well, I like women with long hair. And they're like, well, keep that to yourself, you bigot. And so people didn't talk about it. I remember just feeling something was wrong. Now, I can imagine how someone in the world, a worldly person, would look at me and say I'm a bigot or I'm just negative and I'm picking on people and that's the way they want to wear their hair. Let them wear their hair the way they want. And I honestly have no problems with women wearing their hair any way they want. I think that sometimes it's attractive for a woman to cut her hair. Although I think that personally, I like hair. I only cut mine off because I don't have much. And I think it's better if you don't have any hair and your hair's getting thin. It sometimes looks better just to cut it off. But, and it's hard to manage as it begins to do that as you get older. But if I had good hair, I would probably have my hair long. I think Jesus had his hair long. So I like long hair on just about everybody. So I'm not really thinking about it as though it's some kind of perversion to cut your hair. I don't think of it that way. But during the 70s and 80s, when I saw young people cutting their hair this way, I balked. Not because I didn't like their choices, but because I knew there was an agenda. And I was like looking at this and I could tell that it was like somebody was trying to jam something down my throat. It was like a very odd thing. This is how they started it. They didn't just come full blown pedophilia, right? They weren't doing that. I remember on the Donahue show, the Phil Donahue show, they would have the most ridiculous debates, right? He'd had somebody on his show and they would debate whether or not it's okay to kill your baby. I was just thinking the other day about how little puppies are only stay in the womb for, I don't know, 6 weeks or something, and then they come out and they're so small they can't hardly even move, but they're fully grown little puppies. They don't even have their eyes open. They can't they can't really do anything but just lie there and suck on their mother's teat. Well, then I got to thinking about humans, how they are kind of, when they're in the womb, they're full grown by I don't know how many weeks. The fetus is full grown, and it's like they're just being nurtured by their mother and carried in a pouch. I really believe that the child is fully human from the time of conception. But that's not what we're talking about here. So I felt as though there was an agenda. I saw some of the dances as a little bit like there's nothing wrong with dancing. If you're excited and you're happy, you're going to dance any way you feel. But when it becomes a thing where you turn on the television and everybody's dancing a new dance and you're wiggling your hips and it's kind of provocative, and it's like they're trying to like coerce the young people into doing this provocation. And let me explain it this way. So let's say you're at a Christian gathering and they're all praying and we're hugging and we're crying and we're praising the Lord and maybe we're dancing. That's perfectly fine. You go to another cult, maybe a satanic cult, and they're dancing around the fire and they're doing different kinds of things. It's very similar to what the Christians were doing. It's not about really what they're doing, it's about why they're doing it. So you might find a Christian dancing with her hands up in the air, sort of giving the glory to the Lord and stuff. Maybe she's dressed modestly. And that's the way I feel. Like it's not some kind of law, but it just sort of looks like the people there are interested in true happiness and joy and wisdom and being respectful. Why wouldn't the Christian congregation just come together and rip off their clothes and start dancing around a fire and dancing provocatively and using words like, F you and all that? Why wouldn't they do that? Well, it's not a law day. We're not under law. Let's be free. See, there's a difference between freedom and this modern liberalism, which is it's trying to get rid of the ancient standards that were based on thousands of years of people trying to find a way to be respectful. Like, for instance, you're married to somebody and you're in a room and your husband's not there and there's another man there. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. But there were people back in my day that wouldn't even be in the same room with another man because of the way it would look. Now, there's actually nothing wrong with two people being in the same room talking. But because it might bring some kind of questioning amongst the public if they found out, and it might be tempting. There might be some temptations involved. And you wouldn't want your husband to be jealous. The same goes vice versa. You know what I'm saying? It's not that we're under law. It's just that we, as Christians, somebody who cares, somebody who really wants and seeking truth, seeking to not entice people out of their loyalties, their family arrangements. You just didn't do that kind of thing. And everybody understood that it wasn't some kind of tyranny to be in a committed relationship. It was what the two individuals wanted. And it was something that they should do by nature because their children were important. And their children wanted to grow up having a mother and a father who had some kind of integrity and loyalty to each other. So there's motives behind things. I do believe that people should dress modestly. But on the other hand, I don't believe that it's a sin to go naked. It's just not a sin. We're not under any law. But I also think that if you are a person who loves your husband and you have a family, you probably wouldn't go running around naked doing some weird dances in front of the next door neighbor's husband. Because let's face it, that would be considered maybe alluring or an enticing behavior. I know this is kind of a fine line. My point is, you can't make laws, but you teach love and you show by example. And certainly the governments or the priests or the kings or the people that are in charge of society, the philosophers, the ones that we all look up to, the speakers, I guess we would say the teachers, the elders, they would be showing the example. They wouldn't be trying to, with some agenda, to just put little things out there for years on end, from the 50s to the 60s to the 70s, getting worse, showing movies that are worse, more violent, more provocative. And then, boom, they make it public that they've got this agenda, that they no longer want us to have any moral concepts when it comes to sexuality. There is no perversions anymore. There's no right or wrong. I mean, bestiality might fit in with their agenda here pretty quick. I think it is. They're not talking about it too much now, but we have no idea. People don't have a clue anymore. We've lost the sense of why there are norms in society. And that's mind-boggling. It goes to principles so simple that a child used to be able to understand, like why we don't steal. We don't steal from other people because that belongs to them. And you wouldn't want somebody to take your stuff. And you tell a kid that, and they're like, oh, okay, I get it. I don't know why we have to explain it. I don't think you normally even would have to. But we tell the kids, well, show kindness. Are we going to get to a place where whether you are loving and kind and a gentle person, that's not even something that we're trying to do anymore, but there's going to be a sort of a fad where people will be running around being mean and beating each other up, and it'll be their right to do that? Well, why wouldn't we have the right to go and beat other people up or take their things? Right? Free will, right? Because we don't want a society where we're having to guard our things or fear our neighbors. We want to show our neighbor that we love them. But everything in this world is now being perverted, including, well, we've been sucked into this perversion for a long, long time. It's just now getting to the point where it's ridiculous, but it's always been ridiculous, even to the point where in the beginning, when human beings lived under the system of slavery, why didn't somebody say, this isn't right? Why are we having this slavery? Why are we living with these standards? People don't realize that society, as we know it, is over. Notice this. There might be another reason why Miley Cyrus doesn't know if she's a girl or a boy. Because here on her Facebook, I guess, this is Miley Cyrus is on Facebook. To connect with Miley Cyrus, join Facebook today. So if you click that, you're joining her Facebook. So this is what she writes. This is her heading, Miley Cyrus. I'm a trans woman. Although I knew I was trans from an early age, I wasn't able to transition until recently due to various reasons. While I was privileged to keep my job through my transition, a lot of people in our community don't have that experience. My transition strained my relationship with my family. I'm incredibly lucky to have Greta, which I guess is the person here, or one of those people, my transition buddy, best friend, and wife to support me. Now it's signed, I guess it's signed Nina. So evidently that is not Miley Cyrus who wrote that. But what, is she just re-quoting it? I don't know if she wants us to believe that's her, but then she can say, I didn't actually say that. You're like, yeah, you said it right there. And then, no, that was Nina. I was quoting Nina. Well, whether you are a trans woman or whether you just flaunting your best friend who's trans woman, makes me wonder if perhaps Miley wasn't also a trans from the time she was a very small child. Then, if you look her up on Wiki, whatever this thing is, Wikipedia, I guess, under Miley Cyrus, it says it's a top charting singer, songwriter, and actor who was included on the annual Time 100 list of the most influential people in both 2008 and 2014. Miley has been open in media about being pansexual and non-binary. So it says date of birth, place of birth, nationality. Under gender identity, it's genderless, gender fluid, gender neutral. I mean, look, these people not only identifying this way, it's being written down in the goddamn dictionary. They've got the control of the dictionary. So we want to know if they have control of our agenda, our government. Okay, and if they got control of the government, they might have control of the dictionary. That's kind of what they do. And history, right? And the media and everything else. But when have they had this control? When have they been pushing this agenda? Since Project Paperclip. So when you look at this disclosure, alien disclosure, and all of the corruption and the Epstein and all of these things, they're all Bavarians. They're all individuals from that area. As I said, Elon Musk, who now owns everything, the car companies, the electric companies, the banks, everything. He's a descendant of Werner von Braun, a close relative. That group of individuals did not lose the war. They pretended that Germany lost the war. They took people from Project Paperclip, the elites of the Nazis, and put them into power in the United States and Russia and in Britain. So now they have control. So what do you think the alien thing is about? Is to get you to not believe in Jesus. Because why else would they want society to be broken so that we don't have mommies and daddies and people are depressed and dying because they don't even know what gender they are? They're schizo. Why are there all these medications that are killing people? Why are we doing the thingy? Friends, the only explanation is they want to destroy your soul. And if you don't know that, I'm sad. But what's more important is your children. You need to know this so you can teach your children what is happening before they are completely mind dead. I suggest everybody give this video to their children to watch and ask them what they feel about what I'm saying. They probably don't remember the 50s and the 60s and this. I don't remember the 50s, right? I was born in the 60s. But I know about the 50s. I saw the television rerun programs from the 50s. And and my dad and mom knew about the 40s and stuff. So I was able to learn a lot about things in the day. And I look today and I see what's going on, and a lot of people are seeing it, and they're not even noticing. They see the change, but they just, like a frog in the warm water that just gets hotter and hotter, they don't know what's happened. And the children don't even have a reference point. So we need to show them what this reference is, what is happening, and tie it in with the scripture, because it has to tie in. There's no other reason why there's this hate Jesus agenda, and science is the deity, and ruin the children and the family unit. That doesn't make sense, does it? To destroy the earth and poison. Now Bill Gates has gone to the UN, and they're about ready to start putting stuff in the air to block out the sun's rays so they could cool the earth. Well, if they cool the earth by 1 degree, it will cause such terrible famines and worldwide disturbances that most of the population of Earth might perish. So this has been proven in science, because this has happened before. A big volcano went off, and it went up into the air and cooled the Earth by less than 1 degree. And we went through a little period of time where there was so much famine that millions of people died all over the world. It was a huge, terrible, terrible time in history because of a volcano blocking the rays of the sun. It only lowered the temperatures by 0.7 degrees or something. And they're planning on doing just that. And I think the reason why is not because there is actually global warming, but because that's another excuse to convince us that they need to do this and that, which really is not helping a problem, because there's no problem. They've just invented the problem. And their solution is the real problem, which will cause famine and mass deaths. It will be horrid if they're able to do what they're claiming they're about to do. I kind of think they are going to do it, and that may be what's going to cause this great time of trouble. Jesus talked about earthquakes and tidal waves, for the waves of the sea roaring, foaming out their shame. The people's hearts failing them for fear on what is coming upon the inhabited earth. That is about where we're at. It ain't full scale yet, but a lot of people are getting scared. I'm scared of what's coming upon the inhabited earth. My heart ain't failed me yet, and I don't think it will, because I have faith in the Lord. But there's a lot of people, if they don't have faith and they see what I see, their hearts will fail them. And so even if it's not full scale yet, I see it sort of at a cusp. It looks to me like we've got just months, a year or two before, probably way before that, but it could go a year or 2 or 3. But it looks like we're in full swing now. And the world has gone bat shit crazy. And the Great Deception has already begun. But it will really begin in earnest after the war in heaven, when Satan is thrown down to the earth. The war in heaven is when Christ arrives in the sky at the beginning of the tribulation. So we know when Jesus comes back. He doesn't announce himself necessarily, but he throws the devil down. And then for 3.5 years, he comes down, knowing he has but a short time, having wrath to deceive the entire world. That's where we're going in a very short time, friends. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and go. Hope you have a wonderful evening. May the Lord bless you. We'll see you tomorrow. And be sure to have a good one.